Hey folks, welcome back to Modern Day Money. I'm Carlo, and today we're going to discuss the first 5 things you need to do when you get paid. Now, the first thing you need to do before you even get paid is hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Okay, but seriously now. Now, it won't matter if you get paid once a week, every 2 weeks, twice a month, or even monthly. These same principles apply to any payday. The gist of this is to maximize your take-home pay, aka your net pay. By allocating your money to different accounts in different order, you'll make the most out of your money in the long run. Now, some of these may or may not apply to you depending on what kind of job you have and your personal financial situation, but the rest will, so you can just apply the steps that personally apply to you, but they will cover pretty much 99% of people. The first step is actually kind of a step 0 because it actually occurs before you even get your paycheck. Some of you may already be guessing it, and that is allocating money in your 401k. For those of you that work jobs where the employer offers a 401k program, which is the vast majority of corporate jobs, you will want to take advantage of this. Without getting too technical about the 401k, it is a retirement account that you fund with pre-tax money that grows and accumulates over time, and when you're 65, you can cash out without penalty. Now, the reason this is step 0 is because you need to allocate a certain percent of your paycheck within your company's payroll or HR portal so that it is deducted from your paycheck. You can't do it after you've already been paid. Most of the time, this is a set it and forget it kind of deal. Just allocate a certain percent and never think about it ever again. Step 0.5 in the process is determining what percent you want to allocate. You can theoretically allocate as much as you want as long as you are within the $19,500 annual contribution limit. However, allocating it all isn't necessarily advisable. Most employers offer what's called a 401k match, which means they will match your contribution up to a certain percent. This will typically range from 3 to 6%, with some even doing a sort of staggered system. Regardless of how they do it, you'll want to contribute up to that match point. So if your company matches up to 5%, you will want to allocate 5% of your pre-tax income towards your 401k. The reason is simple math. You are getting an instant 100% ROI. There is no other investment method in the world that guarantees a 100% return. Regardless of the fact that this isn't a huge amount of money, it is still free money, and we never say no to free money. There's also a tax benefit of funding your 401k, as it lowers your overall taxable amount each year, but that isn't super important for the purposes of this video. If you're wondering if you should exceed that match amount and contribute even more towards your 401k, hold your horses. There are a couple other steps you should take first that is up for consideration. Now we're on step 1. Which is to build an emergency fund. Some of you may consider this a priority over step 0 even, which I am okay with if you are particularly risk averse, and having that peace of mind helps you sleep at night. This is also very viable if your employer matches your 401k contribution based on your total annual contribution versus on a per paycheck basis. So if you didn't contribute anything in the first 3 months while you built an emergency fund, but then you allocated a bit more than the match amount the rest of the year to make up for it, your employer would still match the full amount. You may want to check with your employer whether or not they do this. Just email HR. Mathematically, it makes more sense to fund your 401k first, but I understand that peace of mind can be worth more than a few months of a 401k. When it comes to building an emergency fund, the size of the fund is up to you. I would say 3 months is the minimum. 3 to 6 months is pretty common, and 12 months is probably the most you'll need and is less common practice. Again, depending on your peace of mind and risk aversion, I would fully fund a 3-month emergency fund and then trickle money into it until it's about 6 months worth. This will of course depend on your take-home pay and your monthly cost of living, as you may be able to fund it very quickly. Regardless of how big of a fund you decide to have, the location of the fund is going to be the same, which is a high-yield savings account. I know these accounts bring you basically no money in interest, but we don't really care about that. This money needs to be there no matter what happens in the world. There are a number of online banks that provide a 1 to 2% savings yield, which is pretty much all you can ask for. Some even offer up to almost 3% if you meet a couple of criteria, which is pretty nice. I have some links to the various savings account in the description of this video. This is going to be the only money that you will ever have in a savings account, with a few rare exceptions that we'll cover in another video. This brings us to step number 2 after you get paid. Again, this order can change around depending a little bit on the mathematics of your particular situation, but it comes down to this. If you're not good with money, and there's no shame in that, pay off all your debt first. There are 2 methods of paying off debt, the snowball and the avalanche method. The snowball method suggests that you pay off your debt in order of loan size, paying off the smallest first and then moving on to the bigger and bigger ones. Even though this one is more costly in the long run, it plays to the human psychology. By paying off a loan, you get a sense of achievement that can be motivating and rewarding. The other method is the avalanche method, which suggests that you should pay off debt in the order of highest interest rate first. This costs less money in the long run and is mathematically the better option, so I am personally going to advise it. You will pay off your debt in order of highest interest rate to lowest. Credit cards are typically the worst offenders, with interest rates over 20%. If you have credit card debt, you need to pay that off as soon as humanly possible. I don't care if you have to eat ramen for 2 months straight, you need to pay off that credit card debt. Whatever other debt you have, I would recommend paying that off after you've paid off the credit cards. If you know you're not good with money, keep paying off your debts. If you're watching this video, that means that you at least have some interest in getting your finances under control and learning budgeting and personal finance. So good job on taking that step. For those of you that are already good with budgeting and have a good grasp on your personal finances, I would recommend paying off any debt that is higher than 7% in interest. The reason for that is the average market return is about 8% per year when looked at over like a 30-year period. This means that money that could have paid off low interest debt would net you a larger return in the long run. This goes for things like car payments, mortgages, medical debt, and sometimes student loan debt as well. This all assumes that debts are already existing. This is not an endorsement to go out and buy things you can't afford to begin with. That's a different topic altogether though. To give an example with numbers, let's say you have $30,000 in student debt at a 5% interest rate. Your monthly payment is $318.20. Over 10 years, this will equal a total payment of $38,183.59. Let's say you set aside $500 a month for investments. If you put it towards your student loans, you will finish paying off your student loans in 40 months, with a total payment of $32,623. Then you start putting the $500 into an index fund with an average return of 8% per year. After 10 years, you'll have $44,015. Now the alternative is, instead of paying off the student loan faster, you put that $500 a month into the same index fund with the same 8% annual returns, and your balance after 10 years is $86,919. You will have paid more interest in your student loans, but by doing so, you've gained 4 years worth of compounding at a higher return rate. Again, this assumes that you have a good grasp on the math and you are good with your budgeting that allows you to do this. Don't go down this path if you don't fully understand it. Step 3 is your first investment step, assuming you had debt. If you had no debt to worry about in step 2, then now you're here. The first investment fund that I would contribute money to is a Roth IRA. This is a tax-advantaged investment account similar to a 401k, but with 2 key differences. There is a maximum annual contribution of $6,000 per year for those earning less than $139,000. This may not seem like a lot, but the advantage of this is that your money in this account grows tax-free. Unlike other investment accounts that you fund with post-tax money, there are no capital gains on the growth of your Roth IRA. So when you turn 65 and can access the money without penalty, you can enjoy all of it without having paid any additional taxes on it. The earlier you start funding this, the better off you would be, as the compound interest works its magic over time. Because the limit is only $6,000, many people will be able to max it out each year. and then you can move on to your regular investment accounts. Step 4 will be up to you and is debatable. Some people will argue that you should max out your 401k contribution each year with the full $19,500. It is a pre-tax money, so it lowers your overall tax bill each year, which is another advantage and is typically a safe long-term account. Others will argue that sometimes 401k fees can be cutting into your profits, and that you may be better off buying index funds in a regular brokerage account that you have full control over. You have to pay capital gains tax on the profits either way. I think either choice is perfectly fine, but I would urge you to look into what fund your 401k buys and what its asset allocations are. If you're able to choose between different funds, then pick the one that has the lowest fees and the best asset allocations. Regular brokerage accounts also have no limits on when you can withdraw money, so if you wanted to invest into something else altogether, you wouldn't have to pay any penalty for taking money out of your own 401k. And lastly, step 5 is going to be funding individual accounts for like individual stocks and things like that. We all want to jump on hype trains and pick some stocks that we will think will make us money. I wouldn't allocate more than 5 to 10% of your total portfolio towards this though. Chances are you will lose money in the long run, and it may cause more stress than profits are worth. This is also where you can throw some money into crypto. I know everyone and their mother is getting crazy gains in crypto these days, and you've probably gotten FOMO from everyone showing off these crazy games. But remember that far more people have lost everything than gained fortunes. Again, allocate a small percentage of your accounts towards this as a means of diversifying your portfolio and hedging against other markets. I know all of this sounds like a lot of work, but it's honestly not. You can automate literally every single step in this process. Set up scheduled deposits into various accounts. Don't worry about how the market is doing, and do it consistently for 30 years and you will retire very, very comfortably. And there you have it, the 5/6 steps that you should take whenever you get paid to make sure that your money is properly allocated and invested for your future. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe button for plenty more videos to come. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below and I will get to them as best I can. And until next time, see ya!